I'm just delighted to have with us Dr. Viraj Kumar, whom I've known for several years. In fact, I think the first time we met was at our annual conference in the College of Engineering, Pune, way back in 2016. So delighted to see that he has made an enormous mark himself in the field of computing. And now he's a visiting professor at Institute of Science. He's a Kotak-IISc AI-ML Centre, the visiting professor there. And he is, as you see from his CV, a brief CV, he received his PhD in computer science from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in 2007. His primary research area is computer science education. He's an elected member of the ACM American Computing Machine, ACM India Council, and chairs its educational initiatives. He previously served as a consultant to the committee to draft the national education policy, so it fits right into what all of us in our colleges are anxiously concerned about how to implement. More recently, he has co-authored the IUCEE guidelines on AI usage of artificial intelligence, and he serves currently still on the Ministry of Education committee to examine the impact of generative AI on engineering education. So he's the right person to give us a little glimpse into this very important field. So with that, I'm going to back to you, Viraj. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that introduction, Professor Vedula. Thank you for inviting me to this, and thank you all for joining. I'm going to have just a handful of slides so that we have ample time for Q&A, right? And I want to just say at the start that what I'm presenting actually builds on some ideas that I introduced. Again, thanks to Professor Vedula, I had this opportunity to give this keynote at REIS 2024. By the way, Krishna, if that video is out somewhere, that'll be great. If afterwards, if that could be shared, that'll be really, really nice, right? So, so that was, as I said, you can think of that as the abstract, and I've sort of fleshed out an aspect of that for this talk, right? Okay, so I'm going to start by just telling you what my key ideas are, and there's 3 of them, right? So the first thing I'm going to try and convince you is that this current generation of generative AI is definitely not the end of the line as far as ideas here are concerned, but it's already good enough that it makes it feasible for those of us who are not in computing to leverage computing, right? For our teaching needs and for our research needs. And one of the points I made at REIS was that this ability of generative AI to reach across into other domains is not restricted to reaching into computing, but I can tell you that it's good enough today that it's possible for people to reach into computing. I expect similarly for people to reach into other domains using these kinds of AI technologies. So when NEP talks about multidisciplinary education, I think there's a huge potential for AI to play this de-siloing or breaking the boundaries between disciplines in an interesting way. So what I'm presenting here is hopefully just the tip of the iceberg, and this allows people from outside computing to reach into computing, right? So that's the idea. Now, this is not trivial even today. These tools make it easier, but it's not a magic wand, and I will convince you of that, I hope. There are specifically 3 skills that I think are extremely useful, 2 of which are in some sense mandatory. And one is just a very nice to have skill. I think as anyone who's curious about how something works, as all of us as engineers are, I think the third skill is sort of important. I'll describe what these are, right? I think sort of the core of what I'm trying to get at, and this is why I'm really excited to share these ideas with this community, is that I'm sharing these ideas to you in draft form, because at IISc we are trying to take these ideas into a faculty training program, a faculty development program. And we're formulating a 6-month program, right? And its sole purpose is really, as I said, to help non-computing faculty develop these 3 skills, right? And we're collaborating with AICTE on this. And I think I'm hoping through this talk to also solicit collaboration from this community, right? So let's see how that goes. If I do a good job convincing you that this is worth doing, then let's see if we can do that, right? Now, because we're collaborating with AICTE, so there's elements of what I'm going to talk which are influenced by some inputs that AICTE gave us, right? And one of the things that they stress, which I'm sure all of us are aware of, but I wasn't aware quite to the extent this was a problem until we had this conversation with AICTE, which is that, these CS departments have just become so massive and they're eating up all the other departments, and there are many departments that are being closed. Many excellent faculty are at risk of losing their positions or have lost their positions simply because their home host department is not able to sustain itself under this onslaught of computing, right? So AICTE was very keen that this FDP also provides a second string to the bow as far as non-computing faculty goes. Their wish list was actually that through the 6-month program, faculty in non-computing disciplines would actually be able to also teach in computing disciplines. Our feeling is that might be extremely challenging, right? But it's at least possible to develop content knowledge of certain courses. In 6 months, it's not enough to develop enough depth and also the pedagogical knowledge, right? So that will come with time, but I think we can at least make a start, right? And specifically, this is some work that, as Krishna mentioned in the introduction, I'm doing as part of this committee with Ministry of Education. We're developing some curricular changes to the AICTE model curriculum. And one of the courses in the AICTE model curriculum, which I'm sure you all recognize, is the Programming for Problem Solving, the sort of intro to programming course that many of us have. So one of the changes that we're making in that course is we're calling it Programming with AI for Problem Solving, right? So this is one of the courses that we will try and embed within this FDP, as I will explain to you. And then the second one is the classic Data Structures and Algorithms course, right? And so our hope is that the package that we are putting together is something that you will find at least interesting. And most importantly, I'm looking for your critical feedback on this. So towards the end of this talk, on the very last slide, I will have a link for you, and I really, really would value your genuine feelings on this, and do you think this is going to be useful, right? Because we really are. I think we all have to be humble that none of us knows the right way of approaching these complex problems. And this is a proposal really to be sort of looked at, but potentially torn apart and redone if we feel it's really not got certain right principles. So we're quite happy to go back to the drawing board on this, or tinker with it, or take your inputs as valuable feedback to basically develop a better FDP. Right? So these are the 3 things that I'm going to focus on. As I said, I'm going to try and convince you of these 3 skills that are necessary, and through this you can sort of leverage computing, and then sort of take a look at the details of this FDP and talk about how we intend to address this third point. Okay, so let me sort of motivate this. So imagine you are in a discipline that's not computing, but you are designing a complex system to solve a problem that's of interest to you, right? So this is a complex system, and there's a component of it which, let's say, requires some programming expertise. Okay, so today your choice is to probably collaborate with a colleague, right? So the computing department is large, there are colleagues there. Maybe you would like to collaborate with that colleague. Well, there's some challenges to that. firstly, you have to convince your colleague that this problem is really worth solving, right? It's worth their time talking to you. You have to convince them. And I think more importantly, because you are talking across disciplines, you need to develop a shared language, right? They have to understand your problem. They will try and cast it in their terms. You have to understand their language, the language of the computing domain. And so there's a lot of effort involved in developing these partnerships across disciplines, right? So that's one option. And what I want to stress is that there is the second option that is now becoming available thanks to generative AI, right? So the idea here is that your colleague is actually this AI. And since these AIs are designed to be so helpful to help, they're so eager to help us, we fortunately don't have the motivation issue. They're there. And then the really nice thing is that it's not a two-sided learning, right? They already understand your domain. They also understand a lot of other domains. And I'm, of course, putting the word understands in quotes because I want to unpack that a little bit, right? But the important thing is that, which I'm sure we all know, these AI systems are trained on massive amounts of real-world data. They are far better read than any one of us individually can hope to be, right? Now, the question, of course, is there understanding at a sufficiently deep level for them to be helpful to us in some sort of collaborative effort where we're trying to develop this new shiny thing that doesn't exist, right? Is this really feasible, right? So I'm going to try and convince you that this is true. And let me start by appealing to people who know much more about this than me. I will quote from someone who was in the news recently, perhaps for the wrong reasons, which was Ilya Sutskever. If you remember the big brouhaha at OpenAI some months ago, Ilya Sutskever, who is the chief scientist and I believe still is the chief scientist at OpenAI, he gave a very interesting interview. Later on, I'll be happy to share these slides, and then the link is embedded in there. So this is at that moment in I think about a 50-minute interview, where the interviewer is asking him, okay, so these generative AI systems, they work on this idea of predicting the next token. So that's all fine, but surely this has limitations. And what is the next sort of advance that you see? And Ilya Sutskever stops him and says, wait a minute, I'm not so sure that this technology isn't already good enough to surpass human performance, right? Maybe not the current iteration of the systems, but fundamentally the technology itself, which simply predicts the next token. And he makes the point that, any system that is capable of predicting the next token well means that that system understands, at least in a statistical sense, what it is that is going on in that domain, right? And the point is that it understands this well enough, at least, to be able to make, for example, an economic impact in the world of work today, right? So there are people who put dollars behind these systems because they recognize that they are capable of creating artifacts that otherwise you would have to pay a professional quite a bit of money to create, and these are of good enough quality, right? Now, again, we don't have to take anybody's word just because they are at OpenAI or whatever, but I do feel that it was, you don't have to take my word. At least you have Ilya Sutskever's word for this, that these technologies are actually quite capable. Okay, so there is a sense, at least, in which Ilya Sutskever is hinting that these understand at a sufficiently deep level for us to at least entertain the idea. All right, so I mentioned 3 skills, and that's what this FDP seeks to develop. So let me tell you what those are, right? So the first skill, and again, I introduced this terminology at Rees, I called it technical prompting, and I distinguish this from prompt engineering, right? So here's a tiny little sliver of what I see when I'm using my favorite generative AI tool, which is GitHub Copilot, which I use for my programming tasks. So there's a little chat and that you can open up. In here, you can type anything you like. So prompt engineering, the idea behind prompt engineering is that, the AI that's underlying, that sits behind this prompt is extremely powerful. But unless you type these words very carefully, unless you engineer the prompt very, very carefully, you may not be able to unlock all the superpower that is latent in that AI system. Meaning, there are certain prompts, very carefully crafted prompts, that you might need to give for the AI to really do your task well, right? And that's what prompt engineering fundamentally is. The point I was saying is that not all of us need to be prompt engineers. Sure, the people who develop this software need to be prompt engineers, but the rest of us make do with what we call technical prompting. It says here, if you can read the small font, it says ask Copilot or type / for commands. So the / commands, and I'll give you an example of this later in the slide, is prompt engineered. But the rest of us don't necessarily need to be able to engineer prompts. We need technical prompting. So let me tell you what that is. I'm going to give you a toy example for now, and then later I'll switch away from my slides and do a quick demo where I will give you a better example of technical prompting, right? So here's an example of technical prompting. It's a humble comment, right? I just simply say to the AI, hey, print today's date, right? And this is a comment in Python, but a comment is a form of prompting, a technical prompt. You need to know that your AI can complete this with code. So all I have to do is hit enter on this in my AI, and it will suggest over here, there's my cursor blinking, and over here is the AI is suggesting that apparently I need to do this thing called import datetime. I have no idea what this is. So I just press tab on this and I press enter again to accept the suggestion. And lo and behold, I get another line from my AI, right? And I would never have known to write that, but it seems reasonable, right? I need to have this skill of prompting. Notice that I actually use the word print, perhaps because I knew that somewhere it's going to use a print statement, right? Now, could I have said write today's date? Could I have, say, spit out today's date? Sure, but print, if I use the word print, I am more precisely able to guide my AI. And this is the point. There's some of these things that you need to learn about programming, the domain of programming. This is technical verbiage used in the right way. If you do this, your AI will understand you far better. That doesn't mean it won't understand you if you didn't know this, but the more you know this, the more adept you are at technical prompting, the better your AI will respond to you. Now, I told you this is a toy example. I'll give you a better example later on, but I hope this one at least conveys the idea of technical prompting. The second skill is, you're building this system, at some point, presumably your AI is going to produce some code. If you haven't learned programming yourself, you're not in a position to look at that code and say, yes, I believe it, or no, I don't believe it. But you should at least be in a position to check that code's behavioral properties, right? So again, going back to this trivial example, I may not be able to write the code. I may not even be able to read this code. What are all these brackets and all these dots? I have no idea, right? But it's trivial to test it, right? Just run it and see if it prints today's date. You know what today's date is. So in that sense, you know the desired behavioral property of this code. And you know that if you test it tomorrow, you know what the answer should be tomorrow. So you can test it over time. You can test it in various scenarios until you are convinced that whatever this mystery box is probably works. Now, that's not ideal. Of course, you want to be able to peer inside this box. You want to be able to reason at a deeper level than just mere behavioral properties. But I hope you realize, I hope you can agree with me that even reasoning at the level of behavioral properties might be good enough to get started, right? Ideally, of course, we need to be able to comprehend the code. Right. And as I said, that's certainly a non-trivial task. That's not something that can be done easily. Fortunately, even this task, one can get some amount of AI assistance, right? So I mentioned earlier these slash commands. One of the slash commands is slash explain. This command is carefully engineered to, this prompt is carefully engineered to get the AI to do a good job explaining how the code works, right? So when I say you may ideally like to comprehend the code that the AI is producing, not only can the AI generate the code, but it can also generate an explanation for you that helps unpack how this code works. Now, I don't want you to take away from this that, oh, well, AI can do everything, and this must be a trivial exercise. Why on earth is Viraj suggesting a 6-month FDP for doing this, right? So let me just give you a sense of why it may not be quite so trivial. So I will stop sharing my slides for a few minutes and switch over to another window where I have a completely blank for now screen where I'm going to write some code, right? So I hope everyone can see. Krishna, can you just give me a quick thumbs up if you can see, yeah, my slides? Okay, great. Yes. My code editor, right?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to, ideally here, I want to develop this cool piece of software that does something in your domain, but I know nothing of your domain. So I'm going to do something fairly simple, right? I'm going to write a function that takes an integer and spits out the next prime number. So if I give it 16, I want it to print 17 because that's the next highest prime number, right? Now, let us say I do a terrible job of technical prompting. I wanted to write a Python function, f. A mathematician would call this function f. And I say, it's going to take a number n and it's going to produce the next prime number. So I've just told my AI that I want this function f. And my poor AI has no idea what this function f is supposed to do. And it said, well, if you give me n, I guess, I'm going to try and help you. And you can see it's suggesting return n times 10, right? So something you'll learn when you've done some amount of programming, that's actually multiplication. Of course, that's nothing like what I want, right? But if I'm a more adept technical prompter, I know that the name of the function matters. So I will use a name like this, next prime. I will even annotate this n, telling it that it's of type integer. And by the way, the return value is also of type integer. None of this is necessary, but it's all technical prompting that is useful for the AI. And notice when I press enter this time, how much better the response is. It's not a solution. What the AI has done is it's written out what's called a doc string and a high-level purpose statement explaining what this function is supposed to do, but it has bailed out. It has completely bailed out from attempting to solve the problem. It said, pass. It means I give up, right? So some of the things that we learn about over these 6 months is how to do technical prompting well. Some of it is sort of syntax, which might be kind of boring. Some of it is exciting. So for example, you realize that, oh, my AI is struggling to solve this problem. So why don't I do what all engineers do when faced with complex problems? We break them down into smaller problems. So how do we figure out the next prime number? Well, I guess we're going to look at that next number and see, is that a prime? And if that's not, then we look at the next prime number and we'll see if that's a prime. So, hey, wouldn't it be great as a subproblem to check if a number is prime or not? So let me hint to my AI that, to solve this problem that you're getting stuck on, you might want to solve, firstly, an is prime function. Notice I just typed is, and my AI is already sensing what I'm trying to do. It's saying, oh, you mean you want an is prime function? Yeah, that's what I want. Now it's bailing out on this as well, but I can actually convince it to actually solve this problem. If I just get rid of this later stuff, that's probably getting it to bail out. Now it knows how to solve this problem. I'm sorry. Yeah. So now it's solving this problem. It's got a solution. I may not know if this is correct.
Purna, mute yourself. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. It may not know how to solve it, but I mean, I may not know how to read it, but I can certainly accept what the AI does. And now I want you to observe what happens. Here comes the magic. I retry it. And this time, my AI is looking at that sub-problem whose solution it itself produced, and it is able to use it cleverly in a solution to calculate the next prime. So there are many things here that I have said. Many of them might seem, well, Viraj knows how to do it. No, my point is these are skills that we can impart much more widely than what we currently do. Currently, we focus this in our little community of computing professionals. My point is a lot of us outside the computing discipline can learn these fairly small, bite-sized skills, and suddenly we have an opportunity to write non-trivial code. Now, certainly I have not convinced you just by writing this code that this is what counts as non-trivial, but it's certainly much more non-trivial than what I showed you on the slides. And there is a lot further one can go here, right? So when I'm saying that we have a 6-month program that helps you develop these skills, I'm hoping just through manageable examples to convey to you that you can end up doing something that's quite non-trivial. Before I switch to the slides, I want to quickly pause over here and see if there are questions while I'm on this page.
Okay, let's do that. Folks, this is, we got more than 100 of you. Raise your hand and sure, we got Suraj ready from Girdham. Go ahead, Suraj, unmute yourself and tell us what's on your mind.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. I am from the computing domain. I teach computer science courses and I observe this kind of prompts in most of the tools that students do it. But sometimes I also wonder because these questions are in general, we give the same questions to all students. Maybe at one time, 100, 200 students might be attempting the same question. And because of that, the prompts, they generally come up. My question is, suppose if we ask AI a program, a problem to solve, which is not common.
Yes.
Will it be able to at least judge something? Because I have not tried it.
Yes.
You might be trying it. So
yes. Yes. So the short answer is it's very, very hard to disguise a simple problem using other words so that the AI gets fooled. So typically when we want, this will be a separate talk that I will ask Krishna if we have time for doing, but not this one, which is more focused on professionals like you, Professor Suraj, who are teaching in computing. But the short answer to your question is the AI can see past a lot of these disguises. So does that mean then for as computing professionals, we have to ask our students incredibly hard problems? No, I think there are other ways of doing it, but that's a separate talk. Yeah, so my apologies. I think it's a very important question.
Sure. Thank you.
But I did want to focus this one for our colleagues who are outside computing.
Yeah. Yes, we have a colleague from outside computing. I think Reshmi, unmute yourself and tell us what's on your mind, Reshmi.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Sir, I'm basically from chemistry background. This lecture till now, the interaction, what you are explaining, it has like created an excitement like, okay, well, non-computing people can also try this.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for that motivation. My question would be like I am completely a non-computing person. So if I have to start, right? So from where I should start the things, because it's like whatever you're explaining is very interesting. It like want to know much more about that. So
great. No, that's exactly why, Reshmi, we are formulating this FDP, whose details I will explain in the next slide, which will be precisely to give these skills to you. Right? These are not skills that I can just explain through a few examples and do in this webinar. This webinar is really hopefully to do exactly what you said I may have achieved, which is excite you to maybe be interested in this, right?
Me too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, other people are excited about it. We're all getting excited with the possibility of doing this stuff. Come on, guys, other people, hands up and put your hands up and let's have a chat for a couple of more minutes. Come on in, don't be shy. This is your time, interact. We want more interaction today. What's on your mind?
And we will have time for more. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Sandeep Wankhede, and basically I want to know, like the content, whatever you have said, and if I have understood it right, we should know at least some basics of the programming, and then only we'll be able to derive the advantages of this AI
That's right.
platform. Is it right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
But at times people claim that even if you don't know much, you can just write down and whatever your expectation, whatever your program statement is there, and you can get a correct program as well. So then why do I need really to go into the basics of programming again?
Sure. It's a good question. And the point is that as I was trying to explain, firstly, with the example that I gave here, when if I just started with this function f, right? In my mind, there's this function f. Well, that's not good enough for the AI to understand, right? So I gave, now admittedly, I've given a fairly simple example here, but I'm trying to convey through this example that certain tricks that programming professionals use are easy to learn and greatly help the AI understand your intent, right? So this is where I'm getting at, right? If I think these are skills that we can expose to a much broader community. I would not call it learning programming, just these skills, right? But the more you develop these skills, you will essentially become a programmer, one who is adept at programming with AI assistance, which, by the way, I think pretty much all programmers are going to be in the near future, right? So I think you will.
Couple of quick questions. Harshit is saying, I'm from civil engineering department. I'm not understanding anything.
Oh, okay.
May I extend my question?
Sure.
Yeah, please.
So whatever your insights are there, it would make us pro for this programming by just knowing a little bit of the programming, right? Is it that way?
That's right.
Okay.
That's
right.
Because
while I just Google on ChatGPT and I just given a prompt that write a program where write a program to find prime numbers starting from n in Python, and it has given me an entire program. I don't know whether it will work or not, but mostly it should work.
Well, the point is, Sandeep, you can test it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know what correctness looks like.
Right. So when we want to use it as a professional, these basic things are need to be known.
Right. Now if we go and look at what Harshit, if you want to suggest something, right? The idea would be if we take something from civil engineering rather than prime numbers, right? I don't know what we would look at because I'm not a civil engineer, right? But if you want to quickly suggest something on the chat, we could even try out over here whether it's capable of solving a problem from your domain. In the solution that it might produce, only you and your fellow civil engineers would be able to check if what it's saying makes sense. The rest of us wouldn't. My point is, you could pose questions that are interesting to you as a civil engineer, and to the extent they need some element of computing, you can use AI if you know how to prompt it well, right? Right. And I'm sorry, Harshit, I don't know enough about your domain to even suggest a good example here. I have recently completed one such exercise where we did this with a group of mechanical engineers. So I have one example, perhaps from there, where they were looking at a robot and they were looking at, trying to track where the robot was going, and they were using this library in C++ called OpenCV. And yesterday, knowing nothing about OpenCV, in front of 20 mechanical engineers, I developed a program which I really did not understand much about, but we ran it and it did the task as far according to the mechanical engineers. So hey, I'm a mechanical engineer of sorts, so at least I'm solving problems that are interesting to mechanical engineers, with regards to their robots. Yeah, great.
Okay, you want to go ahead, or you want another one or two questions?
Well, Anil has actually suggested something, so let's dive in.
For civil engineers, right? Yeah.
So best steel to cement weight ration for pillar. Right?
Weight ratio.
Okay, there we go. Right.
For pillars.
Okay, so best steel to cement weight ratio for a pillar. Right. Now that seems to be more like a fact, right? So if I'm just going to copy, oops, what did I do? I want to just paste that. Ooh, I thought I had copied that. Apparently not. Best, what was that? Steel?
To cement.
Cement ratio.
Weight ratio. Yeah,
Weight
weight ratio for a pillar.
Now notice it. Now you see it's already suggesting some things, right? For a pillar, right?
Yeah.
Now I don't know if this is a direct answer. I have no idea if this makes sense.
It's given. This already makes sense. So now the Harshit is a more complicated one to get what concrete mixed design.
Okay, so should I add that mixed design?
Yeah. Concrete mixed design. Whatever.
Concrete mixed
design. That's fine.
Okay, so that's, you see, now if I know my domain like Krishna does, I can prompt it correctly, right? Now I have no idea what it's doing, but it's now going to suggest some code which is potentially non-trivial, and this involves something which I have no idea it even makes sense, right? But I don't know what these things mean, right? But if you know what this means, you can say, no, this is rubbish, or great, keep going, right? I have no idea, right? I have no idea if this makes sense.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, there we go, right? So we would stop it here and say, stop hallucinating AI, and I will give you another prompt, right?
Okay, just get concrete mixed design. I think you combined the two prompts and you got confused.
Okay, so what should I change?
Yeah, just remove what Anil had. Just put concrete mixed design. I remove that part. Yeah, remove that part and see what it does. Okay.
All right. So we're having fun here. Now it wants to import math and do NumPy, and it wants some input, and I have no idea what this means.
Fine aggregate, okay. It's got some stuff. Cement 0.5, fine aggregate, water, okay. Water is 0.5, quartz aggregate. That makes sense. I'm sure
it makes sense. You say we used a better prompt and we got a better answer.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, I think we just have to give it some more, massage it a little bit more, Harshit, and you'll get what you want. Okay, great.
Okay, great. So hopefully, Harshit, we can convince you that this
participate in the workshop.
that this might be useful for your domain, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Again, okay. Anil says garbage in, garbage out, proven. Exactly. Which is exactly the point, that I don't want you to feel that, this is something that is trivial to use, that there is a skill here that is worth learning.
Yes. And
that is what the FDP is really aiming to help develop.
Good point. Otherwise it'll be GIGO.
Yeah. Okay, there was another question which we can try and take before continuing. Okay, so Lakshman's just got a comment here that this is interesting. Yeah, hopefully it is. Good.
Just keep going. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, I want to proceed. I have, I think, a couple more slides, and then we have more time for further questions, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let me now explain to you what, in fact, I think this is my very last slide, the details of the FDP that we're proposing. And once again, I want to remind you that this is up for critique. I really want you to sort of, tell us if you think this is not worth doing, right? So as I said, the genesis of this is actually based on a model that AICTE already has proposed, which is a 6-month program where 1 month is spent on campus. So we're planning to run this out of IISc. Faculty will spend 1 month on campus in 2 shifts. Firstly, there'll be a first shift of 15 days on campus, where it'll be our responsibility to organize domain-specific lectures and inviting external experts, where they will talk about how they are using computing in their domains and where they see some of these trends, right? So in their research and in their teaching. The task for the participants in the FDP would, on the basis of these ideas or their own, to identify a problem where computation will be used, right? So basically to use these lectures as potential inspiration, but of course many of you might come in with ideas of your own, which is also perfectly great, right? And then that'll be part of it. And then the other thing will be developing these 2 skills, the 2 critical, the mandatory skills that I mentioned, the technical prompting and the testing. I didn't really, in my demonstration, I didn't tell you how to test. That would be, again, additional skills. Again, not extremely complicated, but extremely important, so that you can check if the black box is doing what you want it to do. And by the way, this would not be lecture-based, this would be hands-on. right? So there'll be a hands-on component for this. So essentially lectures in the morning, perhaps, and a whole bunch of labs in the afternoon. That's roughly how these 15 days will go. Then we will go 5 months online, right? Where the idea will be the skilling as far as the core CS courses are concerned. If you recall, this is also where AICTE was keen that our non-computing faculty do develop some skills. So as you are aware, there's tons and tons of material out there. We're not going to redo that, but we're going to use that in a flipped classroom mode where we will have live interactions online, so synchronous Q&A where we will discuss concepts that are there in these online courses, and we will basically cement our understanding of the computing basics, right? For these 2 introductory courses that I mentioned earlier, namely programming with AI for problem solving and the data structures and algorithms course, right? And then the problem that you had earlier identified, the idea is to take these skills plus all the earlier skills that we had developed and use that to actually develop a computational solution to the problem that you had identified. Okay. Of course, there will be instances where you might want to change your problem. This 5-month period will give you a chance to maybe change your problem if you so desire. Okay. And then the last 15 days, the idea would be that's where you would come back to campus, you would present your solution again to a panel of experts in that domain. I would certainly not be helpful to evaluate what Harshit, for example, comes up with. Harshit, I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but you asked the question, which was excellent. So anything that you develop, for example, I would not be in a position to evaluate, right? So but appropriate experts would evaluate your solution. And then we will be giving out certificates, and AICTE requirement is that we would actually have to conduct an exam, which we would do during the this 15-day period. And by the way, a lot of that 15 days, the exam, of course, won't take so long. A lot of that 15 days will basically be targeted prep for that exam. We don't want the exam to be a stressful thing. We want you to be very clear about what are the skills that we want you to that we will be assessing you on for that exam. So there'll be a lot of practice exams and tutorial sessions and things like that, so that the exam portion of it is essentially a straightforward process of just stamping the fact that yes, the participant has done the work and knows their stuff, right? So that is the model, right? And there are a lot of opportunities here to, as I said, to critique this model. In particular, one thing that I'm really looking forward to in your feedback is, my suspicion is that these 5 months online can be used much more effectively. And I'm interested in hearing from you what you think would be more effective than what is proposed here. So please use this as a first cut. Here is a link that goes straight to the Google form. The Google form is entirely anonymous. You can answer only the multiple choice questions if you like, but what would be extremely helpful to us is if you could also answer some of the open-ended questions where you might justify why you have made certain choices, right? So this is literally my last slide, and my purpose here was to leave this slide here. Those of us who would like to ask clarifying questions about this model, I would be very happy to explain that before you attempt the survey. But I would like all of you to please attempt the survey. We have more than 100 participants. This is a very valuable opportunity for us to get a range of views on this proposal. So I think maybe, Krishna, the best thing would be is we'll pause here and take clarifying questions that people might have. What do we mean by this? What do we mean by that? And let's have that conversation before people head over to the survey, right? And by the way, could I request somebody, this would be so kind, if you could just type this t.ly link on the chat so that everybody
Sridhar, can you do that? Can you put that in the
that would be super helpful.
He'll put it in the chat box.
Sure.
Many thanks.
Yeah, put in the chat box.
Oh, thank you, Aarti. Aarti is already done. She's faster than all of us. Many thanks.
Okay, Aarti, thanks.
Yeah. Karthik has a question. Is there a minimum coding experience required for this FDP? No, Karthik. The idea would be to literally start from scratch because we want it to be as inclusive as possible. right? So there will be no coding prior experience, which means, of course, that those of you who do have will be, you know, at an initial advantage. But we hope that eventually you are going to be using this to solve problems of interest to you, right? And that's what we mean by this problem. This will be decided by you, right?
It sounds like that link is not enabled because somebody must have tried it right away.
It should be. Maybe it's not clickable, but if you copy paste that directly into your browser, it should work. Yeah,
It's working.
Aarti says it works. Okay.
Yeah, it is working.
Okay, great. Sandeep says works. Okay. So let me give just a broad general comment. I mean, it sounds like this is a ideal opportunity to really take the leadership role in this field for most of our colleges that are involved with all over India. And in our case, we have about 55 colleges within IUCEE. And I'm assuming that most of these colleges have introductory CS courses, which are taken by all disciplines, students from all disciplines, okay? And so it's like math and physics that they take introductory CS course. So it makes sense. It makes sense then that yes, it's all of these students are going to eventually end up in gradually getting into this different areas like civil and mechanical and so on. That some faculty from those departments also start teaching these courses, and maybe they're already doing it already. And this is an ideal way for those faculty who are in the non-CS departments to really teach this course in a way that makes sense and transitions the students over to their department, right? Am I understanding it clearly?
Absolutely. In fact, I would like to make an analogy here with mathematics, which is what you brought up, right? So the mathematics courses are typically taught by the mathematics faculty, and they are used, there's a service course for all departments. However, many of the constituent colleges of IUCEE, I'm sure, are either already have or are deeply thinking about saying, you know what, we want to run our maths courses our way for our department. So chemical engineering, we don't need all this stuff, but we really need more emphasis on this. Computing, we don't need all this continuous stuff. We need much more emphasis on discrete mathematics, for example, right? So the idea is really to develop that expertise within the discipline, so that, you know, the similar process with computing, which is currently the service course offered by computing faculty to all disciplines, will eventually be taken up. And the civil engineers will do it the way they need it. The chemical engineers will do it the way they need. The mechanical engineers will fine tune it their way, right? That is really the hope. Yeah.
Okay. So let's have comments come in, folks. You can raise your hand or put it on the chat box.
Yeah, there was one question on the chat, which I will from Professor NMG Kumar about the list of courses, right? So the idea here is really just to focus in terms of the coursework. It will be these 2 introductory courses. As I said, in both cases, the materials will be made available online, and it's self-paced in that sense. But every week we will have live interaction where you get to ask your questions, where I get to pose questions, where the questions are carefully designed to uncover misconceptions, right? And then we have discussions around those, right? So it's not just a MOOC, right? It is basically just making that material available to you to study at your own pace. We all recognize that we're busy professionals. We don't necessarily have the time every week, but whenever we do engage with this content, we get to come and ask our questions and discuss in a live forum, right? Okay. Oh, thank you. And there was the direct link to the form has also been posted, right? There was another question. Girish was asking how to join this FDP. Great. So that there's already interest in asking for how to join the FDP. Girish, we are still formulating the FDP. This opportunity that Professor Vedula has given me, I'm using to solicit inputs from you for fine-tuning this, right? And then we will actually launch the FDP. The idea is to launch it, within the next few months. This is a coordination effort between us, IISc, and AICTE. So there will be some hiccups along the way, I assume. But the idea is to do it quickly, right? Yeah.
And we can also have some of the IUCEE faculty also be part of the pilot, the first batch. So
absolutely.
There's always experimentation happening. First time we offer it, never going to be perfect. Pilot.
Absolutely.
So So some of our folks can help work on it and develop it further for the next offering, which comes 6 months later. So that's yeah.
That'll be very valuable.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So more comments, you can go ahead and read them. Yeah.
Yeah. So Professor Sunil wants to know what can we do after this course, right? So the idea, as I said, Sunil, is that eventually you have problems that are of interest to you in your teaching and research, right? This example problem that you will pick for the duration of this FDP may be a simpler version of something that you want to do in your teaching, in your research. I'll give you an example, right? And this may not be the most exciting example, but I'll give you one example from teaching, right? Let's say, every year, every semester, you teach these courses, and then there's this whole effort to try and find out, based on your institution's policies, where to have the grade cutoffs, right? Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could at least automate that process and have a system propose initial grade cutoffs, right? Now, this would have to be done by you in your institution, because your institution's rules for deciding that grade cutoff will be different to my institution and will be different to anybody else's institution potentially. So wouldn't it be nice to save yourself some headache to write a little Python program to do this for you, right? Rather than having to do it manually. I mean, you will be following some process, some guidelines that your institution is giving you. So that could be your problem. That's a problem inspired by something that you face in your teaching. Similarly, you could pick something in your research. The idea is somewhere there is a programming component or a computing component, which today you might feel, well, look, I don't have the ability to use, but maybe through this FDP, you will have the process, right? Another question was any open software to work these. So all the materials that we're going to be making available, the software materials, will be free. We will choose the versions that are free. Now, please keep in mind, free always comes in quotes when it comes to these AI tools, because when they offer something to you for free that is expensive for them to run, it means they're also getting something from you, which is data. And this is actually a very interesting question. Something that I didn't actually touch on this in this FDP, but maybe in this webinar, but maybe I should have, which is if I use this to develop software, which is interesting for research purposes, right? Let's say, Professor Vedula and I are collaborating on something, and, we've got this really cool idea, we're going to write the software, but the IP or the cleverness is in the software that we're writing. The fact that we are using, let's say, Copilot, which I demoed to you, may not be a good idea, the free version, because all that code that we're typing in is also going to the server sitting in California, and then all our IP, all our cleverness gets siphoned off, right? So that may not be good. On the other hand, let's say the value is actually in the data that we've collected through some sensors, right? And the code is fairly run-of-the-mill. Then we can use the free AI to develop the code, but then we run it on the data locally on our machines, and we don't let anybody else have that, and we develop something interesting coming out of that. So it will matter in that sense. So it's a good question, but the software that we will use will be free, right? There are questions around when exactly the FDP will happen, and what are the fees, and what are the limits of the seats. All this is still going to be detailed, right? Where we are in the process. AICTE is going to essentially sponsor a substantial amount of this. This is part of what they're doing. So there will be, there will be that. You will have to work out with your institution, making you available for 1 month, which is in a 15-day plus 15-day stint. That will be on your institution to make available to you. But for example, when you come to IISc for this duration, all your food, your accommodation, all that will get taken care of by the process, right? And again, if we are doing this in partnership, let's say with IUCEE, then maybe IUCEE can provide a small amount of support for faculty, or maybe work with us, more importantly, perhaps work with us, with the partner institutions, to make the faculty available for this period of time, right? That would be extremely helpful for us, right?
Sure.
Okay. So I don't anticipate any registration fee, right, for this, right? The difference between this course and NPTEL Swayam Plus course will be essentially in what we're covering, and in particular, with regards to the live interaction, right? So the NPTEL stuff is self-paced or otherwise a MOOC, and it's all online. We will be doing something much more interesting. Our assessments will be meaningful. Our exams will actually be, some amount of it would be paper-based, and actually, beg your pardon. These programming exams will all be computer-based, but not just MCQs, right? You will use AI to generate code, and we will actually evaluate that code, right? So something meaningful. Right? Other questions? I hope I covered everything. I took a quick glance at the chat.
Sure. Yeah, you did cover pretty much all the questions that are on there. So let's open it up some more. I think Prapula says, can faculty with any domain attend the FDP? Of course, I think there is, anybody can attend it, and no limit to the seats. Of course, you still have to determine your capacity, how each batch will be. Yeah, how big each batch will be.
Yeah. So AICT, as I said, will have a role in selection. But again, for this, in these initial things, I think we can all work together. The people who I have met at AICT are extremely positive about this. And I think if we say that we're coming in with partners who will bring in motivated faculty who are willing to serve as guinea pigs as we fine tune this project, I think that's great.
We'll give you lots of guinea pigs from IUCEE. Anil Pandit has an interesting question.
Yeah.
Can AI be used to generate exam questions? And also my additional question to that is, can AI be used to grade some of the simpler exam questions?
Yeah. So the answer to both is yes. Again, like anything else that's AI generated, you need to have expertise overseeing what the AI produces. So I would never use an AI generated question and directly copy paste it into my exam. I must vet it myself, right? And the same thing goes with the AI generated solution, the grading, right? I could use it as a suggestion and say, yes, I agree with that. Or with grading, one can also do one more thing that's a little bit sneaky, but not too bad. Just let the student fight it, right? So just put out the AI generated grade, and if the student disagrees, the student can fight it, right?
With AI.
Yeah, the student, no, because the student really, I think, can critique anything. For example, if there is a rubric, a rather complex rubric that the AI has applied, the AI, remember, doesn't get fatigued like us, so it can apply these rules a little bit more consistently than us. And so let us say we apply the rubric to 500 exams. Now, somewhere it might make a mistake, right? And that particular student, we'll alert all our students, look, the exams are AI graded. Feel free to identify specific areas where you feel the rubric is misapplied, and we will simply check that, right? Which I think is a perfectly sensible way. We have at IISc used AI generated exams in a slightly unusual way, which I will share, and maybe we'll have to bring it to a close. So what we have done is we've actually used the fact that AI makes mistakes to ask questions where we give students, say, a wrong proof, a wrong derivation, or a wrong program. And we ask the students, your task is to find the mistake, right? So it's an excellent opportunity to turn the AI's weakness into a strength. It creates these very interesting kinds of questions we call refute questions. And it's a possibility to use AI to create refute questions.
Okay, great. Last minute comments from anybody? Hands up, raise your hand, or just 1 minute to go. While we're doing that, from my perspective, Viraj, IUCEE is ready. I don't even have to consult some other members. I think most of the people who interact today are parts of the leadership team of most active faculty from our colleges. Yeah. And judging from the fact that we've got so many interactions, I think we should be able to pilot a few of our faculty and colleges right away in your first offering of the course. Okay, get ready for that. All right.
That'll be fabulous. That'll be fabulous. I have a namaste to thank everybody for that time. I mean, I would also do it this way.
Good evening. Yeah. Good evening, Professor Viraj. Can I ask a question? This is
J.R.
Sharma.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Basically, I am from chemistry, like other colleague talked about it. So I have a very curiosity out of curiosity. I have a question. Like whenever I check Google for some of my chemical reactions, and next time, without my saying, all the relevant information keep on coming. So, I mean, what actually does it come under AI, or is it connected?
So web search these days is using AI generated suggestions, and you can, for example, also ask a query to the AI where it will supplement it with the web search. So these two technologies, these two transformative technologies, are sort of merging and trying to supplement each other. Yeah.
Good.
I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, I think yes, that's what I was trying to ask. Thank you very much for that. Yes.
Okay, thank you all, everybody.
It's a very nice program, this FDP.
Sure.
Certainly, I think Professor
Sure.
Krishna Vedra knows we are from Geetham. Certainly, we could nominate some faculty.
Definitely. All right, take care, everybody. We don't want to run too much
All
late.
right.
We want to end on time. Thank you, Viraj,
Thanks.
and we'll follow up. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you
Bye.
for the chance. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.